we don't know if that is the case. But considering that the American criminal justice system, even under the Brandon regime, no matter how much Republicans claim this wasn't the case, still operated in the normal ways that it always does and apprehended violent criminals and processed them through the criminal justice system, okay, I suspect that many of these people are not like rapists. All right. Let's cover drop site already. Drop site translated Gustavo Petro, Presidente de la República de Colombia. Okay. Gustavo Petro's take on Donald Trump. He just did a massive response to Donald Trump. Colombian President Gustavo Petro reciprocates Trump's with 50% tariffs on all U.S. goods entering his country. Trump. I don't like traveling to the U.S. much. It's a bit boring, but I confess there are some merits. I like going to the black neighborhoods in Washington. There I saw an entire struggle in the U.S. Capitol between black people and Latinos with barricades, which seems silly to me because they should unite. I confess that I like Walt Whitman, Paul Simon, Noam Chomsky, and Miller. I confess that Sacco and Vanzetti, who share my blood, are memorable in U.S. history, and I follow them. They were killed by fascists in the U.S. for being labor leaders, executed in the electric chair, much like the fascists in my own country. I don't like your oil, Trump. It will destroy humanity due to greed. Maybe one day, along with a glass of whiskey, which I accept despite my gastritis, we can openly talk about this. But it's difficult because you consider me an inferior race. I am not, nor is any Colombian. So if you know anyone stubborn, it is me, period. You can try with your economic strength and arrogance to carry out a coup like you did with Allende, but I will die by my law. I resisted torture, and I resist you. I don't want slave holders beside Colombia. We've had many, and we've freed ourselves. What I want beside Colombia are lovers of freedom. If you can't accompany me, I will go elsewhere. Colombia is the heart of the world, and if you didn't understand it, this is the land of yellow butterflies and the beauty of remedios, but also of Coronel Aureliano Buendia, of whom I am one, perhaps the last. You will kill me, but I will survive in my town, which is before yours in the Americas. We are peoples of the winds, mountains, the Caribbean Sea, and freedom. You don't like our freedom? That's fine. I don't shake hands with white slave holders. I shake hands with libertarian whites, heirs of Lincoln. When he says libertarian whites, he's talking about like the OG libertarian, like Noam Chomsky would be considered a libertarian in that vein. Like he means like not libertarians in the way that Americans understand it. Heirs of Lincoln, and with the black and white farmers of the U.S., in front of whose tombs I've prayed. I've wept and prayed in the battlefield after walking the mountains of Tuscany and surviving COVID. He means libertarian socialists. They are the U.S., and before them I kneel, not before anyone else. Me, President, and the Americas and humanity will respond. Colombia, stop looking north now. Look to the world. Our blood comes from the blood of the Caliphate of Cordoba, the civilization of that time, from the Roman Latinos of the Mediterranean, the civilization of that time, who founded the Republic, democracy in Athens. Our blood carries the resistance of black people made slaves by you. In Colombia is the first free territory in America, before Washington, before all of America, and there I take shelter in its African songs. My land is of goldsmithing from the time of the Egyptian pharaohs and of the world's first artists in Chiribiquet. You will never dominate us. The warrior who once rode our land shouting freedom is Bolivar. Our people are somewhat fearful, somewhat shy, naive and kind and loving, but they will know how to win the Panama Canal, which you took from us by force. 200 heroes from all over Latin America rest in Bocas de Toro, now Panama, before Colombia, whom you've killed. I raise a flag, and as Gaishan said, even if I remain alone, it will still fly with Latin American dignity, which is the dignity of America, which your great-grandfather did not know, and mine did, Mr. Presidente, immigrant in the U.S. Your blockade does not scare me because Colombia, in addition to being the land of beauty, is the heart of the world. I know you love beauty, as I do. Do not disrespect it, and it will offer you its sweetness. Colombia, from today on, opens up to the world with open arms. We are builders of freedom, life, and humanity. Colombia, I am informed that you impose a 50% tariff on our human labor's products entering the U.S. I will do the same. Let our people sow maize, which was discovered in Colombia, and feed the world. Gustavo Petro, Presidente de la República de Colombia. That was sick. Be serious, dude. Come on. It was awesome. I don't know what happened. Halfway through, I was overcame with emotion and feeling. A feeling of joy and hope overcame my being. And in that moment, I too was Colombian. Yeah, I mean, this is the opposite of what the media was claiming immediately, where they were like, Trump doubled. Trump hit him so hard, he immediately buckled. It seems like he's like willing to engage in tariff wars, you know? Bro, shitposting, I'm crying, you're reading it so serious. No. To me, it is serious. A matter of utmost seriousness. Are Colombians Turkish? Yes. Dude, Turkey is a part of the global Latino belt, and therefore we are one with one another. Honduran President Castro, current head of the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, is calling for an emergency meeting next week for presidents of LATAM countries. Petro has confirmed his attendance on the agenda, Latin American and Caribbean unity. Dude, I also got to do a Colombia trip now. We got to do a LATAM trip, a Latin American trip in general. It's got to happen. I show speed style. Global South unionization against the American empire will go hard. Yeah. Crazy how Trump might cause the world to get more unified and leave America behind. I mean, these are things that we have talked about, right? Time and time again. But I am not so certain that it will take place. But who knows? I do believe that it is almost entirely in the hands of China at this point. A global unification against American empire, or against Western empire in general, because it's not just America, it's the European Union as well, right? That unification can only occur if there is an economic engine that is willing to resist it. And that economic engine is currently the manufacturing hub of the globe, China. From what I understand, this back and forth, the media is claiming that Colombia sending the presidential aircraft is caving to Trump rather than taking control of the situation. Yeah, Colombia has received, as far as I understand, Colombia has received, under the Biden administration, numerous flights of migrant, like Colombian migrants that have been deported, right? Colombia receives migrant deportations. I mean, now all the news is going to be about this latest round, so I don't know where I can show this, but as far as I understand, a lot of these countries are open to receiving their own citizens back and process them through their own criminal justice system, right? But the unique incident this time around was that it was an American military plane. Is that what it is? I don't like. Yeah, it seems it's the fact that it was a military flight that made it that changed the dynamic a little bit for them. Yeah. No. What is he? A migrant is not a criminal and must be treated with the dignity that a human being deserves. That's why I turned back the U.S. military planes that were carrying Colombian migrants. I cannot allow migrants to remain in a country that does not want them. But if that country sends them back, it must be with dignity and respect for them and for our country. We will receive our fellow citizens on civilian planes without treating them like criminals. Colombia is respected. It's a military flight and they were in chains. What the hell? The Brazilian government has complained of inhumane treatment of dozens of migrants deported from the United States, the city of Manaus. No AC, they were shackled the whole time. No piss breaks, no food on the flight. Yeah, that's the Brazilian complaint included things like the AC not working on the flights. So I mean, yeah, the conditions are horrible. The conditions are completely unacceptable. I'm so mad about it, Hasan. Chain people and AC broken, no food, no piss. Yeah, when speaking to experts in Latin America, I've been told that the use of military planes by the United States could be seen as an insult, and now it seems they were right. Mexico's president just refused to take a deportation flight from the U.S. for the first time in years. Yeah, these countries have cooperated with the American government within the confines of the law. When migrants are deported, they're deported usually on commercial travel or like civilian aircraft, not on military aircraft. And I think Trump doing that with military aircraft in an effort to probably beef up the argument that, you know, they're perp walking these people, right? The reason why they're doing that is because it goes along with the narrative that these people are like violent criminals responsible for abhorrent crimes. And obviously it's for the optics. It's to justify why this action is taking place. And in order to justify this action taking place, you have to re-justify the underlying false premise that they are all criminals, violent criminals, right? Now, we don't know if that is the case. But considering that the American criminal justice system, even under the Brandon regime, no matter how much Republicans claim this wasn't the case, still operated in the normal ways that it always does and apprehended violent criminals and processed them through the criminal justice system, okay? I suspect that many of these people are not like rapists and murderers, even though Fox News claims that every single one that has been detained and apprehended is a rapist, murderer, serial killer, specifically targeting babies or whatever. Yeah. The reality of the matter, of course, is that even if they are literally murderers, like the proper protocol still remains. They still get treated with some semblance of universal dignity, as is their right, because they're human beings. And any kind of response to this that revolves around, no, actually, I don't really care if they're murderers, like they don't get the dignity, is just simply opening up a very dangerous precedent, in my opinion. This NBC article explains how the ICE flights operate. I tried sending an excerpt, but it was too long. It is long. I also don't understand why. This is a genuine thing that I don't understand, and I haven't gotten a good response from this. From anyone that is even like remotely sympathetic to the Trump cause in general. But like, why do we want to deport murderers? Why don't we want them in jail? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, am I crazy? Like, there is this very weird mentality that Republicans have where they just keep saying like, we got to deport these murders. We got to deport these murders. I'm like, dog, I want them to go to jail. Like, I don't want them to potentially get away. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's insane to me. I feel like they've become too woke in their, like, deportation is normally, under normal circumstances, deportation is a violent and cruel process. 100%. But it is literally a better alternative than the fucking prison system, than going through the proper channels of the criminal justice system and actually serving your time. You are not offering the victims any closure whatsoever. It makes no sense. It truly makes no sense when people are like, no, what we must do is let some of these guys go completely free. It's objectively the only time where deportation that is otherwise a violent and cruel and unjustifiable measure is actually the more humane outcome, okay? Also, ironically, not just a humane outcome, but like an outcome that kind of violates the principle of the law. Hasan, what? Likes men, son, or takes ferocious dick, daughter. Why don't you debate about that? Hashtag sus. That's funny. I think they care more about the money. Keeping them in jail costs too much for them, possibly even sinister. No, you're wrong. We have... In the United States of America, we literally have private prisons, okay? It doesn't exist, I don't think, anywhere else on the planet. So no, even in this like depraved structure, there are still people who are slated to make money from this process, and they are already experiencing tremendous growth in their stock prices. It almost feels like Donald Trump was purely projecting, and we know that historically he was. But he was purely projecting when he said they're dumping their criminals into our country willingly. Okay? Like, and we have done that. We literally did that with MS-13. That's how MS-13 began. MS-13 was a prison gang built in the United States of America's carceral structure in California state penitentiaries. And then we took all of the Salvadoran prisoners from our prisons, did not inform the El Salvadoran government that they were actually, gang members. And we just sent them to El Salvador. And guess what? They still had a network of connection in the United States of America. And very quickly, with all their training in American prisons, were able to do acts of terror and take over the El Salvadoran government, number one. And then number two, use the government of El Salvador or the nation of El Salvador as a launching ground for their operations and utilize their pre-existing connections to the United States to continue doing more crime in the U.S. We made it this like mutated super terror cell, basically. Like, we created it. And now I guess Trump wants to run it back. If there are no rooms in American jails, then the goal should not be to build more of them, but instead the goal should be to potentially, make the process a little bit better so that there are no more prisoners. You thinking he's only doing this to unstabilize these countries? No. Are you ever going to talk to Adam in person? Who is Adam? Adam 16 or Adam McKay? If you're asking about Adam McKay, then yeah, eventually, yeah, when I'm back. New scum art just dropped. It's ridiculous, and it makes it seem like my head looks small, but I don't really understand why. Obviously, it's seems like it's a positive to have a small head in Japan. So Trump 2.0 is much more effective and efficient than the first term Trump, thanks to Susie Wiles and Stephen Miller. Also, thanks to the experiences that he had, I think.